Chapter 1627, completed ceremony. Heshi's face turned red, and she said with a hint of annoyance, "Get back into the void now." The little golden dragon did a roll and disappeared within the palanquin. Just before leaving, it didn't forget to say laughingly, "Don't worry, master. Little Egg and I will stay in the void obediently. We're looking forward to your wedding night. The bride has arrived." As the MC shouted, the firecrackers at the door of the King of Hell mansion rang out like thunder. Heshi was helped out of the palanquin. Though she wore the phoenix crown with a beaded veil, her stunning beauty still shone through. Upon seeing the bride, everyone collectively gasped, so astonished that they momentarily forgot to breathe. Nangongyu held his breath as he approached Heshi. He then gently crouched down and carefully lifted the only woman he had ever loved onto his back, step by step, heading towards the main hall. Though it was just a few hundred steps from the entrance to the main hall, a distance Nangongyu could cover in a flash, he now walked slowly and steadily. It was as if he was carrying the most precious treasure and the greatest responsibility of his life. Bow to the ancestors and elders. From this moment on, he, Nangongyu, would no longer be alone and would always have someone by his side. Bow to the heaven and earth. From now on, they would support and rely on each other, standing side by side through thick and thin, inseparable in life and death. Bow to each other as husband and wife. From this day forward, Nangongyu would have a beloved wife, Shiyu, to cherish for all eternity. The ceremony is completed. Send them in for the consummate night. The onlooking guests erupted in thunderous cheers. Seeing this married couple, who looked as if they were heaven sent, standing together, everyone felt that there couldn't be a more perfect match than these two. Only Nangongyu was worthy of Shiyu, and only Shiyu was worthy of Nangongyu. In the hall, old lady Nangong wore a benevolent smile, looking at the couple with great satisfaction and nodding approvingly. By the time the couple was escorted inside, the smile on her face became even warmer and more joyous, without a hint of imperfection. Nangongyu and Heshi's bridal chamber was set up in what was originally Nangongyu's master bedroom. By now, the entire bedroom had transformed into a cozy and elegant space. Red crystals were placed around the room, casting a particularly festive vibe throughout. Due to Nangongyu's commanding presence, those who had initially wanted to barge in and playfully disturb the couple were promptly shooed away. With the bridal chamber finally settling into a rare silence, Nangongyu gently lifted the beaded veil from Heshi's face. Gazing at her flawless beauty, his voice turned husky and deep, "Shir, I've finally brought you home as my bride. From now on, you are truly mine. You're my only wife." Heshi narrowed her eyes and smiled, "You're mine too, my only husband." Unable to resist any longer, Nangongyu leaned down and gently captured her petal-soft lips, kissing her tenderly. He even tasted the lipstick on Heshi's lips as he deepened the kiss. "Nangongyu, how can the groom move on to the consummate so early? If you don't have a drink with us, we won't let you spend time with the bride." "Ha ha ha, that's right. The groom, come out quickly." Outside the door, boisterous voices could be heard. Most of them were from the elders of the Miracle Healer Academy. Shinsen also chimed in. Frustrated, Nangongyu released Heshi and gazed at her intensely, murmuring, "Heshi, let's ignore them and sneak into another room to continue our wedding night, okay? I'm struggling to hold back." He reached out and pulled her into his arms. The heat exuding from his body portrayed how much he longed to possess the beloved girl in front of him, and he didn't want to wait even for a moment. Chapter 1628, Everything's Fine. Heshi's face was flushed. She smiled and pushed him away. "Nangongyu, you'd better get out quickly. Otherwise, they will probably rush into the room." Sure enough, Jingxue's angry voice sounded outside the door again. "Do you think you can just easily marry away our Miracle Healer Academy's girl? Nangongyu, you'd better come out quickly. I will make you drunk today." Nangongyu had a look of reluctance and anger, with a hint of childish grievance. Heshi pursed her lips, leaned close to his ear, and whispered, "Go quickly. I'll wait for you to come back and tie the knot." Nangong Yu's heart fluttered, the fiery passion within him intensifying. Taking a few deep breaths, he smiled and gently tapped Heshi's forehead, saying, "You naughty girl." Then, he turned around and left the bridal chamber. Just after midnight, the old lady Nangong, still dressed in her extravagant attire, slowly made her way toward the bridal chamber. She was accompanied by two ordinary-looking mammies. Guarding the entrance to the bridal chamber were Qing Wan and Wen Yan, as well as the two guards Heshi brought from Sealed Dragon Domain, Shi Jia and Shi Yi. Seeing old lady Nangong, Wen Yan and Qing Wan both showed respectful expressions. "Greetings, old lady Nangong." Seeing her walking to the bridal chamber, Qing Wan couldn't help but ask curiously, "Old lady Nangong, what can I do for you?" Qing Wan was a little surprised but had no doubts. Old lady Nangong had always been kind to the master. Even when she thought that the miss was a man, she never opposed the marriage. There was no reason for Qing Wan to doubt the old lady. However, Shi Jia was baffled. Why did the heirloom have to be given to the young miss on the wedding night? Couldn't it be given during the tea ceremony the next day? Just as he was about to speak, he heard old lady Nangong continue, "In our Nangong family, when a newcomer enters, they have to pay respects to our ancestors the next day. If Yu's bride doesn't wear this jewelry during the ceremony, I'm afraid the others might have some thoughts or reservations." Old lady Nangong said so. Although Shi Jia was suspicious, she didn't say anything. The door of the bridal chamber was slowly opened. After the three people entered, it slowly closed again. Shi Jia frowned and glanced in the direction of the bridal chamber from time to time. After 15 minutes, old lady Nangong walked out of the bridal chamber with a relieved smile on her face. Following behind her were the same two inconspicuous mammies. After instructing the two to take good care of Nangong Yu and Shi Yu, old lady Nangong gracefully took her leave. "I'm fine." "What happened?" Peering through the crack, under the soft glow of the firelight, sat a woman dressed in bridal attire. The phoenix crown was still on her head, and the beaded veil hung down, concealing her face. However, one could vaguely see the stunning beauty beneath it. Seeing Shi Yu sitting there unharmed, Shi Jia breathed a sigh of relief, chiding himself for being overly suspicious. If the people of the King of Hell Mansion trusted old lady Nangong, then it naturally meant she was trustworthy. Chapter 1629, Who Are You? At the wedding banquet, the party was in full swing, with lively chatter and laughter filling the entire King of Hell Mansion. Butler Nan followed Nangong Yu, looking at the densely packed banquet with no end in sight. He then looked at Nangong Yu, who was still graceful and handsome even though he was drunk. He felt happy in his heart. He had watched his young master grow up, witnessed him lose his family and happiness, thinking he'd spend his life in solitude. But who would have thought, he found the love of his life and would be getting married. Perhaps in some time, a little heir would be born, and the King of Hell Mansion would become even livelier. Just thinking about such a future, Butler Nan's eyes crinkled with laughter. "I wish this happy and warm scene could last forever." Gu Lufeng raised his glass, handing it to Nangong Yu. His face was smiling, but his eyes held an unspeakable gravity. "Nangong Yu, I'm entrusting Shi Yu to you. If you dare harm her in any way, I won't hesitate to use all I have to make you pay." Nangong Yu smiled, said nothing, and drank all the wine in the glass. "Nonsense, as Nangong Yu's wife, I'm going to pamper her. How would I treat her badly?" He shook the empty wine glass and looked at Ouyang Haoshuan standing next to Gu Lufeng. In the dead of night, the man's spiritual energy fluctuated like a blazing flame. Nangong Yu could feel it even without using his spiritual vision. However, despite the burning fire, his eyes were cold and dark, as if there was no warmth at all. Ouyang Haoshuan did not come to toast like Gu Lufeng, nor did he have the slightest intention to entrust Shi Yu and ask Nangong Yu to treat Shi Yu well. Gu Lufeng bumped into him and asked him to toast. Ouyang Haoshuan smirked, filling his cup with wine and downing it in one gulp. He then remarked casually, "Wherever Shi Yu is, I'll be there. Can the King of Hell Mansion accommodate someone like me?" He lived the remainder of his life solely for Shi Yu. As for whom Shiyu loved or married, he truly didn't care, as long as it was the life Shiyu desired. Nangong Yu's eyes sharpened. He was about to speak when suddenly, a strong wave of irritation and unease surged within him. His complexion paled slightly. A foreboding feeling spread in his heart as if something bad was happening. Nangong Yu put down his wine glass, turned around, and walked toward the bridal chamber. Many people came up to offer toasts along the way. He really wanted to swat them away in annoyance, but this was his wedding banquet, his special day with Shiyu. So, he could only patiently avoid them. When he arrived at the bridal chamber, it was still quiet, no different from when he left. "Where's Shiyu?" Qing Wan covered her mouth and giggled, "Master, what are you talking about?" "The young lady is a newlywed, so she is naturally waiting in the bridal chamber." "Do you still need to ask?" Nangong Yu breathed a sigh of relief, and slowly let go of his worries. Yet, an inexplicable irritation persisted, prompting him to push open the door to the bridal chamber and softly call out, "Shiyu." As soon as he spoke, the person sitting at the head of the bed turned to look at him. The bright red wedding gown, the dazzling phoenix crown, and the familiar face of stunning beauty beneath that crown. Yet, the moment he saw that face, Nangong Yu's expression changed drastically. In a flash, he was in front of the person, violently grabbing their throat. His voice was chillingly cold, reminiscent of a hellish Azura. "Who are you? Why are you here? Where is Shiyu?" Chapter 1630, Fainted. "Mother, mother, wake up. Wake up." In a deep sleep, Heshi heard little eggs call in her ears. When she opened her eyes, she felt that her head weighed 1,000 pounds. Sob. "Mom, what should I do? Little golden dragon and little cow have both fainted. That fat bird has also passed out. Mom can't wake up either. Little egg is so scared." Heshi furrowed her brows. She tried to sit up. However, she felt as if an invisible force had bound her entire body, leaving her completely immobilized. She looked around and found that she seemed to be in an old mansion. The surroundings were still filled with the smell of dust and rotten wood. What happened? Heshi's memories slowly drifted back to not long ago. When Heshi heard old lady Nangong's voice in her bridal chamber, she immediately became wary. Heshi even had the invisible needle in her hand, ready to strike. However, since Nangong Yu cared about his grandmother, she kept her wariness hidden. She just sat on the bed and looked at the old lady who walked in calmly. However, what Heshi hadn't expected caught her off guard. As soon as Lady Nangong entered the bridal chamber, she closed the door behind her. Without even a greeting, the mammy behind her immediately raised her hand. A mysterious smoke, seeming almost alive, shot straight toward Heshi on the bed. Even with Heshi's expertise in poisons, she felt dizzy when she caught a whiff of that mysterious smoke. Her body suddenly became weak and limp. She collapsed onto the bed. The horror Heshi felt could not be described in words. Heshi tried to mobilize her internal spiritual force, forcing the small amount of inhaled sedative into a corner of her meridians. Her mind immediately cleared. However, she still pretended to be unconscious, keeping her eyes shut and feigning collapse on the bed. Old Lady Nangong's voice came to her ears. "I heard that Shiyu is proficient in poison. I didn't expect that this smoke would be so powerful that even Shiyu couldn't resist it." A woman's deep laughter echoed in the room, filled with mockery. "Expert in poisons? Only the trash from Miluo would praise such a young girl so highly. What does this kind of skill amount to in the face of my Lu family's soul-devouring poison?" Listening to this woman's voice, it was obvious that she was not an old nanny, but a young woman. With a complicated expression, old lady Nangong looked at Heshi and whispered, "Don't blame me. If you must blame someone, it's because you got in their way. Jingxue, do your part." Heshi felt a slight shiver in her heart. With her eyes slightly closed, she saw that the other old woman standing next to old lady Nangong slowly turned into Jingxue. Jingxue looked very excited. Her gaze landed on Heshi. With the complement of the wedding dress, Heshi's stunning face appeared even more alluring, delicate, and captivating. The more Jingxue gazed at Heshi, the more her heart burned with jealousy and hatred. She wanted to rush over and scratch Heshi's face, which was many times more beautiful than hers. However, Jingxue couldn't help her growing excitement, thinking that everything Shiyu possessed would soon be hers. The handsome and outstanding Nangong Yu would become her husband. She would get everything from Shiyu and replace Shiyu. She quickly exchanged her clothes for Shiyu's, donned the phoenix crown, and sat on the bed. Chapter 1631, Swap the nanny. Beside old lady Nangong waved her hand and sent a red orb toward Jingxue. The orb covered Jingxue's face. It suddenly twisted on Jingxue's face like jelly and emitted a dark red light. When the light dissipated, Jingxue's face turned completely into that of Heshi, so beautiful that there was almost no flaw in it. The woman dressed as an old mammy breathed a sigh of relief. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and said with satisfaction, "This disguise can last for 8 hours. Even if the martial artists of the void darkness were to come, they wouldn't find any flaws. Hee, 8 hours is more than enough time for you and Nangong Yu to enjoy your wedding night." Upon hearing that, Heshi's heart skipped a beat and her breathing became a little heavier. The bad news alarmed her. She swiftly leaped into the air, launching a poisoned silver needle from her hand towards the woman. Tch, a sharp pain came from her face, causing the woman disguised as an old mammy to groan in pain. Feeling a numbing pain on her face, the woman's eyes flashed with fury. Suddenly, with a flick of her hand, a large dark red insect fell to the ground from her grasp. The dark red insect exuded a terrifying and sinister aura. It blew a puff of smoke at Heshi, who was about to escape the room. Heshi suddenly felt dizzy and lost consciousness. Even the fellows in the void were affected by the smoke, fainting one after another. Only Little Egg, despite feeling sore all over, remained conscious. Crimson Voodoo King! Old Lady Nangong exclaimed, taking a step back with fear in her eyes. With a triumphant look, the woman glared at the unconscious Heshi. She scoffed, "She's such a cunning one. She almost fooled even me. Even our Lu family's soul-devouring poison couldn't affect her. Fortunately, the third elder was cautious and entrusted me with the Crimson Voodoo King." After speaking, the woman waved her hand. Heshi, who had been unconscious, slowly stood up as if controlled like a puppet. Her appearance also changed to that of the old mammy that Jingxue had previously disguised into. Just like when they entered, the three left flawlessly. All that remained was the beautifully decorated bridal chamber and the stunning bride. Yet, no one knew that inside, everything had been switched out. After listening to Little Egg's story, Heshi's face became solemn. Heshi witnessed Jingxue's appearance when she used the disguise voodoo. It was entirely different from using spiritual power to change one's appearance, which even Heshi could hardly spot any flaws. Can Nangong Yu see through it? Will he really consummate the marriage with Jingxue? The mere thought of Nangong Yu getting close to another woman filled Heshi's eyes with intense irritation. The Lu family, is it Lu Wushuang? However, based on Ouyang Haoshuan's description of Lu Wushuang's cultivation, I don't believe the Thousand Poison Valley's master would have such formidable tricks. Otherwise, my fate would be far worse when Feng Lianying cast voodoo on me in Breaking Spirit Mountain. Little Egg, where am I now? Heshi asked Little Egg using divine sense. Little Egg wiped away its tears and cried, "Mom, they're still in Yanjing City. Because of your grand wedding with Dad tonight, the entire city forbids flying and using teleportation arrays. Also, at this hour, the city gates are closed, so it seems they could only come here." Chapter 1632, Come in. Little Egg was talking when suddenly, a burst of chaotic footsteps approached. Heshi soon heard the voice of the woman who knocked her out. "Is the teleportation array ready yet? We must send her out immediately. It will take another hour before the teleportation array can be used. The Nangong family guy has set up some tricks in the barrier in Yanjing City. All the teleportation arrays cannot be activated for the time being. Now we have to change the runes to activate this one, but it can only send us just outside the Yanjing city. A man's voice reported, and then chuckled, "Don't worry, Mrs. Qianyu. The King of Hell is currently preoccupied with playing the groom and receiving toasts. Moreover, even after the toasts are done, seeing a stunning beauty who looks exactly like his wife, do you really think he'd resist approaching her? As long as Nangongyu sleeps with Jingxue, he'll be controlled by the voodoo. Then won't he be at the mercy of our Lu family? Do you think he'd still pursue this young girl?" It turned out that the woman who kidnapped Heshi was named Xianyu. When Heshi heard them entering the house, Heshi immediately closed her eyes and pretended to have passed out again. In reality, even if she didn't pretend to be unconscious, she couldn't do anything. To this moment, it felt like her entire body was bound, unable to even move her fingers, let alone escape. Qianyu frowned and said, "It's always better to be safe than sorry. No matter what, we need to leave Yanjing as soon as possible. Once we can fly and teleport, even if someone notices anything, they won't be able to catch up with us, even if they had wings." "Yes, Mrs. Qianyu." The group walked into the room where Heshi was being held. The men who were following Qianyu saw the unconscious girl on the ground. Even though she was dressed in the most ordinary attire, in the dim light, she looked as breathtaking as a fairy from the heavens. Just a glance would make one's breath catch, and it was hard not to drool. Qianyu touched her face, noticing that the scratch hadn't healed yet. She glanced at the still unconscious Heshi and then at her subordinates beside her, their eyes filled with greed. A mocking and sinister smirk crossed her eyes. "You all stay here and watch her closely. I'll go check on the teleportation array. I'll be back in an hour. All you need to do is hand her over to me unharmed. As for what you want to do within this hour, I won't interfere." Qianyu's words made the eyes of these men light up with intense excitement. After the woman walked out of the room and locked the door behind her, the men walked toward Heshi. Everyone's eyes were wide open. Their fervent, fiery gazes seemed as though they'd melt the young girl's clothes, revealing her delicate, snow-white skin. From the void, little Egg cried out anxiously, "Mom, Mom. What are we going to do?" Sob. "These bad guys want to harm you. Mom, please take refuge in the void quickly, okay?" Heshi was also filled with anxiety. She had tried everything, her internal spiritual force, spiritual power, or the continuously generated essence from the circle of life, but none could free her. As the men with ill intentions drew closer, a stubby hand reached for Heshi's clothes. Little Egg in the void let out a piercing cry. It was so sharp that the entire void shook. "Mom, come in quickly." Heshi felt a brief disorientation before a wave of spiritual power surged toward her and the scent of vegetation filled her senses. She opened her eyes in surprise, looked around, and was immediately startled. Chapter 1633, A Discerning Eye. I'm in the void. I've actually entered the void? Peering out through her divine sense, Heshi could clearly see everything within 100 meters. Her physical body was nowhere to be found. Only a few men who were previously consumed with lust stood there, their expressions filled with shock and panic as they frantically searched around. Little Egg cried and threw itself into Heshi's arms, sobbing, "Mom, you scared me to death." Heshi opened her mouth to speak, but her body was still restrained. All that came out in her raspy, broken voice was, "What happened?" Little Egg wiped away tears with a confused look on its face. It didn't know how Heshi entered the void. At that moment, all it desperately thought was, "Mom has to come in. She must get out of danger and enter this void." And then, Heshi appeared before its eyes. It wasn't like before, where Heshi was just a consciousness, actually a mirror image of her physical body that could eat, drink, and practice. Any harm to either body would be felt by both. This time, her entire body had entered the void fully. Little Egg was happy for a while, but then it realized that Heshi still couldn't move. It tried various methods, giving Heshi medicine and channeling spiritual power into her. However, its efforts were to no avail. Chirp chirp, the feeble cry of little red birds suddenly came from the quiet void. Little Egg raised its head in surprise. Little red bird, are you awake? Are you okay? Chirp chirp chirp, silly, fetch the Heavenly God pill and quickly give it to your clueless master to take. Heavenly God pill? What is that? Where is it? Little red bird rolled its eyes, dragged its tired body, flapped its wings, and flew into the Xian Xiao palace. After a while, it took out a black medicinal pill from inside. Tweet, 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 you're a bunch of idiots, wasting such a treasure. There are only 2 such precious Heavenly God pills left in the world, but you are throwing them away like rubbish and piling them up with other junk. Humph, if it weren't for my discerning eye, the Heavenly God pill would have been wasted. Little Red Bird had originally planned to secretly share the pill with Xiaoqi one day, so they would both become immune to all poisons. However, since their current cultivation levels were too low to handle the potency of the Heavenly God pill, they had been holding off. The Heavenly God pill was a legendary treasure made from 99 types of unique and precious ingredients. It was refined for 9,981 days under the solar divine fire. After which, the essence of a 1,000-year-old malevolent spirit was infused into it. Anyone who consumed this pill would no longer have feared curses or poisons. Countless people had gone mad desiring this very item. Who would have thought that Miss would get so lucky today? Tisk, it's not like I care about her well-being. It's just that I don't want Xiaoqi to be heartbroken. Yes. I'm just worried about Xiaoqi's feelings. Little Egg blinked its eyes when it saw the medicinal pills and finally remembered. Ah, aren't these the 2 medicinal pills we obtained when the first level of Ling Xiao Palace just opened? I didn't expect these 2 medicinal pills to be such powerful treasures. Sure enough, after Heshi swallowed the pill, the feeling of being constrained immediately disappeared without a trace. Her spiritual power and internal spiritual force also returned. She even felt a cold energy being released from the pores of her skin, drifting into her ancient rhyme spiritual field, and then completely absorbed by the cold-eating flower. Chapter 1634, Bloodbath in Yanjing. Of course, they understood how crucial the captive was. If they lost her on their watch, it would cost them their lives. However, even though they practically turned the place upside down, they couldn't find a trace of her. What's going on? Where is Shiyu? Xian never expected that just an hour later when she came to see Heshi's miserable state she would find several men darting around the backyard like headless chickens. The night was cool, but they were so frantic that they were drenched in cold sweat. Shiyu, who was originally unconscious on the ground, had long since disappeared. We don't know, we really don't know. Before we could do anything, she suddenly disappeared. It's really not our fault. Please forgive us. Worthless. Qianyu furiously slapped them, sending several men tumbling to the ground, coughing up blood. With her chest heaving with anger, Qianyu coldly ordered, seal off this courtyard. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, find that person for me. Yes, Mrs. Qianyu. After Qianyu finished speaking, she did not stay in the courtyard but left in a hurry with her eyes twinkling. Arriving in a remote room, Qianyu fiddled with a bracelet in her hand. The bracelet quickly lit up and a projection appeared before her. Watching the figure appear on the screen, Qianyu said with guilt and anxiety, "Third Elder, I've greatly erred. We captured Heshi, but even though she was clearly restrained by the Crimson Voodoo King's threads, she suddenly vanished without a trace." In the projection, Lu Yunhai's face suddenly darkened. He gritted his teeth and said harshly, "Incompetent. You can't even handle such a simple task." Lu Wushuang, who was standing behind him, stood up suddenly and said anxiously, "Third uncle, what should we do now? Immortal Xian Qing must have given her some kind of treasure. If she contacts Xian Qing again, we will be in trouble." Lu Yunhai's eyes seemed to hold a storm of fury, yet his expression slowly cooled. Turning to Qianyu in the projection, he said, "Notify Silver Fox and the Lu family members in Jinling City to initiate Plan B." Qianyu's expression changed slightly, with a hint of excitement and panic on her face. She bowed and said, "Yes." Lu Wushuang also became excited. "Third uncle, are you sure that bitch is still in Yanjing City?" Lu Yunhai sneered, "We and the Green Vine clan have jointly set up a barrier around Yanjing City. Even if she escapes, there is absolutely no way she can escape from Tsang Mountain. She is alone now. What else can she do besides running to Nangongyu for help or escaping back to the sealed dragon domain? The wood source is all the hope of our Lu family. We must get it no matter what. Anyone who dares to stand in our way will die. No matter if it's the people in Yanjing City or Shiyu's men in the sealed dragon domain." Lu Wushuang laughed excitedly, "That wretched Heshi. If she had stayed put, we might have spared the people of Yanjing City or her subordinates in the sealed dragon domain. But she just had to cause us trouble, even thinking of escaping after being captured. Then don't blame us for a bloodbath in Yanjing. After all, our Lu family's discovery of the wood source must not be leaked." Chapter 1635. Escape. Yes, their original plan was just to kidnap Shiyu and then use the voodoo poison inside Jingxue to control Nangongyu. This way, things could be resolved perfectly, without a single drop of blood being shed. However, things didn't go so smoothly. Therefore, they also arranged a backup plan. They decided to establish a barrier, effectively transforming all of Yanjing City and the nearby Tsang Mountains into an isolated place, leaving everyone trapped inside with no way to escape or call for help. As for the people in Yanjing City and sealed dragon domain, they wouldn't mind sparing their lives if they didn't interfere with their plans. However, anyone who dared to stop them would face their wrath. In the eyes of Siamese people like them, the martial artists of the lower realm, whether they were royalty or disciples from prestigious clans, were nothing more than ants that could be crushed underfoot at any moment. In the void, after Heshi recovered, she began to look up the general outline of the Sumeru void. She discovered that new text had appeared in parts that were originally blank. Originally, Heshi's circle of life had not yet reached the soul condensation stage. However, due to Little Egg's sudden outbreak, something within the void's restrictions was unknowingly triggered, unexpectedly unsealing the void's capacity to accommodate her physical body. What frustrated Heshi was that after the first layer of shelter restriction was lifted, her physical body could only stay in the void for 1 hour. For the next 7 days, she wouldn't be able to trigger this function. For Heshi, who was now in danger, there was no way to truly get her out of danger. An hour passed quickly. Heshi appeared in the dim room. She restrained her spiritual power, lowering her presence. Then, she quietly jumped onto the roof. After walking for a while, Heshi saw a place emitting light from above. That was a recently activated array. It was the teleportation array that Qianyu had just mentioned that could send people outside Yanjing City. Heshi had also considered going to the Nangong mansion to find Nangongyu, but at this moment, the Nangong mansion must be the most heavily guarded place. If she were to enter, she might be facing a certain doom. The safest approach now was to return to the sealed dragon domain, as that was the most advantageous battlefield for her. Below, the person who had just activated the teleportation array and was about to report suddenly felt his vision go blurry. A figure slowly descended in front of him. The man was proficient in formations, but his cultivation was only at the gold core stage. Upon encountering Heshi, he didn't even have a chance to utter a word before being struck in the throat by the Li Shui sword, falling to the ground. Heshi was about to enter the teleportation array when suddenly, the door slammed open with a loud bang. Standing at the doorway were the 3 men who had earlier attempted to rape her in that dimly lit room. Each of these 3 people had the cultivation level of nascent soul stage. The moment they saw Heshi, their eyes glowed with excitement. "Found her, the damn woman is here. She is going to enter the teleportation array. Stop her quickly. We must not let her escape. Catch her and present her to our master to redeem ourselves." Otherwise, we will surely suffer dire consequences. The three of them drew their swords and rushed toward He ferociously. He sneered. Li Shui's sword soared into the sky, unleashing a fierce sword aura with a resounding whistle. When Qianyu hurried to the scene after hearing the commotion, she found her subordinates lying on the ground, impaled by numerous swords. Then, she witnessed the graceful young girl gradually fading away within the teleportation array. Chapter 1636, Jingxue is dead, Shiyu. Qianyu let out a shrieking cry. Do you think you can escape? Notify Feng Yunzhao and ask him to use the tracking technique to track the traces of the voodoo's silk and determine the exact location of Shiyu. Also, send a message to Mu Hua, telling him to dispatch his men. Xiaoyu is at a dead end and will definitely return to the sealed dragon domain. Since she wants to go back, we'll catch her there. Xiaoyu, you have no way to escape now. I want to see how long you can remain arrogant. In the King of Hell mansion, Qing Wan, Shi Jia, and others rushed in after hearing the commotion, only to witness the scene where Nan Gongyu had a chilling expression, tightly gripping the neck of Shiyu. Qing Wan's face was painted with fear. Master, what are you doing? Let go of the queen. Gu Lufeng and Ouyang Haoshuan felt something was wrong with Nan Gongyu's behavior just now, so they followed him. Gu Lufeng was shocked when he saw this scene and rushed over without thinking. Nan Gongyu, what are you doing? However, before he could take a step, Ouyang Haoshuan stopped him. Ouyang Haoshuan's expression was gloomy and icy. His sharp gaze was fixed on the woman whose throat was being gripped by Nan Gongyu. Even though she had the same breathtaking appearance, with identical eyebrows, eyes, and facial features, this person was not Xiaoyu. Because there was no trace of Xiaoyu's scent on her. Instead, she emitted a nauseating stench, much like the odor found in many others. Nan Gongyu looked coldly at Shiyu, who was lifted up in the air and said word by word, I'll say it again. Where is Shiyu? I'm Shiyu, Nan Gongyu. Ah! Nan Gongyu's hands suddenly tightened. If you don't tell me, just go to hell. Crack, 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 that was the sound of the throat bones almost being crushed. The woman being held in the air by Nan Gongyu's grip had her entire face contorted and grotesque, showing traces of bluish-black marks. Nan Gongyu was indeed intent on strangling her, without the slightest hint of hesitation. At this moment, Jingxue was finally scared. She couldn't breathe. She could hear the unpleasant sound like a broken bellows coming from her throat. The black aura silently emanated from Nan Gongyu's hand. Upon contacting with this aura, the perfect disguise voodoo that had been applied to Jingxue's face reacted as though it had encountered a formidable foe. It wriggled in fear, attempting to escape. Crack, dash, the disguised voodoo shattered into pieces, returning Jingxue to her original appearance. Ah! How could it be you? Qing Wan exclaimed, where's the queen? Gu Lufeng also looked horrified. Why did she appear here as Shiyu? Where is Shiyu? Jingxue's face was covered in tears and mucus as she looked at the man gripping her throat in terror. She hoarsely pleaded, have mercy on me, have mercy on me, I'll tell you, someone asked me to replace Xiaoyu and be with you in bed, it's Lu. Before Jingxue could finish her sentence, her face contorted with fear, and her flesh began to rot at a speed visible to the naked eye. Eventually, she turned into a mummy corpse. Jingxue was dead. Nan Gongyu stared blankly at Jingxue's lifeless body. He suddenly gripped her neck tightly, crushing the bones to pieces before throwing her aside. He turned around fiercely, his eyes glowing red like a demon's, and glared viciously at Qing Wan, Wu Yan, and others. Tell me, why was Shiyu switched? Where is Shiyu now? There was a barrier around the bridal chamber, so he would definitely know if anyone tried to break in. Chapter 1637, didn't make it in time. The only way someone could have gotten into the bridal chamber was if Qing Wan and Wu Yan had let them in on purpose. Qing Wan's face was full of panic, and tears suddenly welled up. Impossible, impossible. How could Miss have been switched out? The one who is dead is Jingxue, so where is the real Miss? It's old lady Nangong. Shi Jia blurted in a deep voice. Just now, only old lady Nangong entered the room. There was deep sorrow and regret in his eyes. He had already harbored suspicions, so why hadn't he sought further confirmation? If he had been more careful, Miss would not have gone missing. Hearing the words, old lady Nangong, Nangong Yu's body swayed slightly, then he said coldly, bring the person here. I will question her myself. He wanted to ask his dear grandmother personally. Wu Nian was about to say something but hesitated. Master, old lady Nangong wouldn't have done such a thing. So, tell me, where's Shi Yu now? Nangong Yu asked, his eyes cold. You were supposed to be keeping a close watch at the door. Look at the mess we're in now. Wu Nian shuddered violently, a spine-chilling fear rising from his core, weakening his knees to the point he almost wanted to kneel. Fists clenched, he hung his head in shame upon hearing Nangong Yu's words. Yes, he, Wu Nian, had been guarding here, and yet such an outcome had occurred. Among the master's 8 most trusted confidants, he and Wu Gu were the most proficient in array. Today, with Wu Gu in charge of the outside, he was responsible inside. Yet someone had managed to switch the bride right through their array, and he had detected nothing at all. Such a mistake was critical. Master, old lady Nangong is missing. Wu Yu hurried over to report. Nangong Yu's face was so gloomy that sweat dripped from his face. He exuded an aura of sheer brutality and ferocity all around him. Shi Er had vanished right under his nose on their wedding night. The sounds of laughter and the clinking of glasses continued outside, oblivious to the storm brewing inside, ready to erupt like a volcano. Flutter flutter chirp chirp chirp, urgent bird calls came from the sky not far away. It seemed particularly abrupt. Everyone looked up and saw a yellow Yumin bird constantly hitting the barrier. Its wings were riddled with wounds. Its urgent, piercing cries cut through the air. Nangong Yu's eyes narrowed. He waved his hand, removing the barrier. Yumin bird fell to the ground with a thud. Soon, her body shook, transforming into the appearance of a young girl. But at this moment, the young girl's condition was rather pitiful. She had wounds all over her body and a broken arm as well. As soon as Li Yu saw Nangong Yu, she immediately cried, Nangong, hurry, you have to save Shi Yu. Someone's trying to capture her. Lots and lots of people are after her. Nangong Yu said urgently, who's trying to capture her? How did you know? Li Yu told Nangong Yu what she heard in the magical beast forest and the information Shaoli passed on. The more he listened, the colder and darker his expression became. The Lu family, the Green Vine clan, so many people are coveting Shi Yu's wood source when I'm unaware. As Shi Yu's husband, how could I have been unaware of the peril she was in? Shi Yu has been captured. Nangong Yu closed his eyes before saying hoarsely, do you know where they will take Shi Yu? Li Yu burst into tears. She had rushed here as fast as possible, and Wu Qi had sustained serious injuries protecting her. Unfortunately, she still didn't make it in time. Chapter 1638, Pick One. Shi Yu has been taken. What will happen to her? Could those villains kill her? Oh, I can't bear the thought of Shi Yu dying. And if Shi Yu were to die, how heartbroken Miss Shaoli would be. Ouyang Haoshuan suddenly grabbed the struggling Shao Qi with one hand and stepped forward. Shao Qi knows where Shi Yu is. This was a statement, not a question. Shao Qi was also incessantly shouting, Sister, find sister. Sister is in danger. Shao Qi wants to go, let me go, you bully. Shao Qi paused for a moment, then muttered, brother-in-law, protect, sister. A slender hand grabbed his sleeve in a rush, urging, follow Shao Qi, go. Nangong Yu grabbed Shao Qi and flew out of the King of Hell mansion like lightning, flying in the direction Shao Qi pointed. His speed was incredibly fast. When Qing Long, Gu Lu Feng, and the others chased him desperately, they felt only a gust of wind pass by, and then he was out of sight. Luckily, Ouyang Haoshuan had a blood pact with Heshi and had a faint sense of Heshi's direction, so he reluctantly chased after Nan Gongyu. Not long after Nan Gongyu left the King of Hell mansion, a familiar scream came to his ears, "Yuer, help!" Nan Gongyu stopped, put down the Shaoqi in his hand, and looked coldly at the alley not far away. So at this moment, a woman dressed in white slowly emerging from the alleyway appeared strikingly out of place. There, in full white attire with a white veil, was a woman holding a dagger that shimmered with a purple glow. In her other hand, she grasped an old woman's neck, the blade of the dagger pressing deeply against it. This old woman was dressed in gorgeous clothes and had a messy red hairpin on her head. She was none other than Old Lady Nangong. When Old Lady Nangong saw Nan Gongyu, she burst into tears and shouted sadly, "Yuer, Yuer!" The woman in white suddenly raised a dagger and slashed it on the top of Old Lady Nangong's head. Suddenly, her bun was cut in half and all her gray hair fell to the floor. "Nan Gongyu, if you dare take one more step forward, don't blame me for being rough with this old hag." Nan Gongyu looked at him coldly. He spoke coldly, "Who is Lu Wushuang to you? Did she take Shiyu? Where is Lu Wushuang now?" "Tisk, tsk, tsk, even while watching your own grandmother suffer, all you talk about is Shiyu." The woman in white chuckled. "I really didn't expect that, just like your father, you're a hopeless romantic. How about this, choose between the life of this old woman and Shiyu's life. What do you say, Your Highness, the King of Hell?" Old Lady Nangong let out a scream of terror when her hair was cut off. She was trembling all over and looked at Nan Gongyu pleadingly, "Yuer, save Grandma. Please save Grandma." Nan Gongyu's gaze fell upon her, his expression as calm as still water. He slowly said, "Then, Grandmother, please tell me first, why did you collude with outsiders to kidnap Shiyu? Why did you betray my trust in you?" The expression on Old Lady Nangong's face stiffened, and then she immediately responded with a quivering voice, "Yuer, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I collude with outsiders to kidnap Shiyu? Have you been listening to others trying to sow discord? I am your grandmother." Chapter 1639, The Mastermind Behind the Scenes. "Yes, you are my grandmother." Nan Gongyu suddenly burst out into laughter. His laughter was hoarse and strained, as if filled with immense regret. "It is precisely because you're my only grandmother that I trusted you. But it was my foolish trust that put Shiyu in danger. Ha ha ha. It's me, I'm the one who harmed her." Hearing Nan Gongyu's laughter, both the woman in white and Old Lady Nangong felt a chill as if the temperature around them had begun to drop. Just at this moment, Qing Long, Bai Hu, Qing Wan, Xian Wu, Wu Xian, Wu Yu, Wu Yan, and Wu Go had arrived. Gu Lu Feng, Ouyang Haoshuan, Shi Jia, and others also arrived. Old Lady Nangong suddenly came back to her senses and started screaming non-stop, "It's not me! It's not me! Yuer, how could you wrongly accuse me? I have always been kind to Shiyu. How could I harm her?" Qing Wan pointed at Old Lady Nangong and said with hatred, "It was you. You were the only one who went into the bridal chamber. Who else could have kidnapped Miss if not you? I only regret why I didn't stop you from entering at that time, causing harm to Mississippi Sob." Before Old Lady Nangong could speak, Xian Wu suddenly stepped forward and said, "Master, I have just received the investigation results from Enlin from the Miracle Healer Academy. It has been confirmed that Old Lady Nangong was indeed one of the masterminds who set up a trap to frame the queen that day. Moreover, she used her authority over the investigation to cover up for Jingxue, who was also a co-conspirator. Back when Xian Wu conducted the investigation at the Miracle Healer Academy, he noticed traces of Jingxue's involvement in the conspiracy, but Old Lady Nangong covered it up. Therefore, after Xian Wu returned, he still left members of the Iron Kirin, Enlin, to continue the investigation. Initially, he just wanted to confirm that Old Lady Nangong was protecting Jingxue. However, to his surprise, the investigation eventually revealed that Old Lady Nangong was the real mastermind behind the scenes, and even Mammy Chi was a confidant who acted under her orders. Xian Wu's sharp eyes swept over old lady Nangong and the woman in white next to her. Moreover, and Lin also found out that old lady Nangong has long been in contact with Thousand Poison Valley Master Lu Wushuang. The Nangong family has been taking orders from the Lu family. In the beginning, it was old lady Nangong who bridged the connection. There is another thing that my subordinates suspected but have not confirmed yet. On the day the master's mother fell victim to the voodoo poison, she had met quite a few people from the Nangong family. But, from what I know, the only person who had the trust of our master's mother, as well as the opportunity to commit the deed, was none other than the elderly lady Nangong herself. If it hadn't been for the investigation into the Queen's case, which brought out the connection between old lady Nangong and Lu Wushuang, I would have never imagined that the seemingly kindest elder of the Nangong family is actually the most sinister and vicious person. Nangong Yu revealed a bitter smile, his voice hoarse as he said, "I thought that in my family, there was at least one person who truly cared for me, who considered me family. But it turns out, the only person I trusted was the real mastermind behind the ruin of my household and the loss of my loved ones." Had Nangong Yu not placed complete trust in old lady Nangong, Xian Wu wouldn't have held on to his suspicions in silence, choosing instead to wait until he had gathered enough evidence before speaking out. If Nangong Yu hadn't taken it lightly, if it weren't for his overconfidence in his ability to protect Shiyu wouldn't now be in a situation where her life or death remained uncertain. Nangong Yu's face gradually turned deathly pale, feeling a sharp, heart-wrenching pain in his chest. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and violently spat out a mouthful of blood. "Master!" Qing Long and others rushed over to help him in panic. Chapter 1640, Impending Bloodshed. With a face frozen in shock, old lady Nangong could no longer deny the accusations. Tears and snot covered her face as she cried, Your grandmother had no other choice. It was Lu Wushuang. She forced me to do it. If I didn't do as she said, she threatened to kill our entire Nangong family." Sob, I'm your biological grandmother. Are you just going to stand by and watch your relatives die? No matter how good Shiyu is, she's still an outsider. No matter how wonderful a woman she is, once you're in Siam, wouldn't there be others you could marry? Your second uncle is also in the hands of the Lu family. If you dare to take action against the Lu family, our Nangong family will be doomed. After all, you bear the surname of Nangong. Do you want to watch all your relatives die for the sake of a woman? Nangong Yu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. A chilling smile crept upon his face. His eyes were devoid of warmth. The Nangong family is doomed, you say? That's fantastic. I wouldn't even want to dirty my hands killing you all myself. After saying that, he grabbed Shao Qi and jumped into the air. Gu Lufeng, Shi Jia, Qing Wan, and Ouyang Haoshuan quickly followed. They only cared about Shiyu's life and death at this moment. Qing Long and Wu Xian, however, stayed behind and surrounded the woman in white and old lady Nangong. There was panic in the eyes of the woman in white. She looked around. 3 nascent soul stages, with formidable strength, surrounded her. Moreover, she was only at the intermediate level of the nascent soul stage. She stood no chance facing 7 opponents alone. Don't come any closer. This is the old lady of the Nangong family. Don't you care whether she lives or dies? Responding to her, Wu Xian coldly gestured with a wave of his hand, "Do it." Moments later, in the dark, silent alley, the smell of blood permeated the air. Lying on the ground were a woman in white and an old lady with graying hair. Both had their eyes wide open, their gazes filled with fear and disbelief. The night was still young. The real battle and bloodshed had yet to begin. At the foot of the Tsang Mountains, red silk was now spread out, and the noise was earth-shattering. Yanjing city was only that big, but the guests attending Nangong Yu and Shiyu's wedding numbered in the hundreds if not thousands. Consequently, many banquet tables were also set up here. For example, the 100,000 Jingxue army, the staff from various branches of Xingda Hall, and some low-rank martial artists who came from afar to the wedding. Although it wasn't as lively here as at the King of Hell Mansion and the Cheong Luo banquet, the wine and spiritual food provided were also of excellent quality, with a rich aroma permeating the air. Zhou Yanan wore a scholar outfit. He squinted and smiled as he watched his younger brothers, Zhou Huaiyan and Chen Guang, laughing heartily while they enjoyed the feast. Wei Daxiao and Shisen also joined in. Hearty laughter was everywhere in the banquet. Chen Bai was sitting next to Zhou Yanan, watching this scene. He couldn't help but sigh. It feels like yesterday when we pledged our loyalty to the young master and followed him to serve Miss, who was then disguised as a man and only at the foundation establishment stage. In the blink of an eye, she has reached the gold core stage, about to marry into the King of Hell Mansion. Our Xingda Hall has expanded beyond our wildest dreams. Now, who in the Miluo continent doesn't know of our existence? Zhou Yanan smiled and nodded repeatedly, his eyes sparkling. He would never forget the days when Gu Lufeng was kidnapped by the Murong family and Xingda Hall closed down. He was left with no place to go. He would never forget how Shi Ju reached out to him at the pivotal moment, bringing Xingda Hall back from the brink of collapse and restoring its name to glory across the world. Chapter 1641, Many people. Chen Guang bit into a piece of meat and sighed. Our 100,000 Jingxue army originally followed young Master Ouyang to seek refuge with the young lady, hoping to become the young lady's backing and help her conquer the world. Who would have expected that the young lady didn't need our help at all? She took care of everything by herself. Moreover, we also got great benefits from the young lady. It's really shameful to think about it. Sitting in the corner, the young troublemaker Shi Lang was feeding soup to a girl called Little Wan. Upon hearing those words, he clenched his fist and shook it, saying, "My future skills will definitely surpass Mrs. I will become Mrs.'s personal bodyguard and protect her. Just wait and see." Everyone present burst into hearty laughter, both amused by Shi Lang's youthful boasting and cherishing Shi Yu's kindness toward them in their hearts. Suddenly, Shi Lang, who had been ladling soup, twitched his nose and furrowed his brow, saying, "Many people are approaching this way." Huh? Many people? Zhou Yanan frowned. By all rights, the guests who came to attend the wedding banquet should have been settled by now, right? Why would there be many more people? Shi Lang frowned tightly. His years of wandering experience gave him a sense of unease. However, he couldn't tell what was wrong. "Who are you?" Chen Bai suddenly shouted and shot out like an arrow. Soon, he was holding a young man covered in blood, asking, "Who are you? Why are you sneaking around here?" "Notify Miss." The young man's face was ashen. His voice was hoarse and intermittent. "Someone is trying to capture her. The Lu family and the Green Vine clan have dispatched numerous experts of soul-splitting stage and nascent soul stage to capture her. Tell her quickly escape." Zhou Yanan looked at the young man covered in blood. The more he looked, the more familiar he seemed. He suddenly exclaimed, "Aren't you Xiao Li's brother? The miss you're talking about is Shiyu, right? Who is trying to capture Shiyu?" Wu Qi opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His voice became weaker and weaker. "It's too late, miss, run away." After saying this, Wu Qi passed out completely, and even his breathing almost stopped. Zhou Yanan, Chen Guang, and the rest looked at each other. They all saw the solemnity and worry on each other's faces. Shi San bit her nails and looked around. The place was crowded with people drinking wine. Most of them were soldiers of the Jingxue army and employees of Xingda Hall. Everyone knows that Shiyu values friendship the most. If an expert from the soul-splitting stage comes to massacre us, could she possibly stand by uncaring? Shi Lang said, "Many people are approaching this place. Are they here to take our lives? Open the sealed dragon domain." Shi San jumped onto the dining table in a hurry and shouted, "Everyone, enter the sealed dragon domain immediately." Entering the sealed dragon domain would provide them the ability to fend off the attackers. The festive atmosphere was replaced by solemnity in an instant. The 100,000 Jingxue army was well trained. They immediately entered the sealed dragon domain in an orderly manner upon hearing the order. However, some of the associates from the Xingde Hall, along with other low-level warriors who came to join in the excitement, all seemed unconcerned. They didn't understand why Shiyu's followers suddenly made such a fuss about nothing. Chapter 1642, Kill Without Mercy. Some guests even sneered, could it be that the King of Hell and Shiyu have been bled dry by our feasting, and they can't afford to let us continue eating? I've heard that the sealed dragon domain is full of traps and is entirely under Shiyu's control. If they have evil intentions, aren't we just vulnerable livestock with our lives in their hands? The teleportation array to the sealed dragon domain kept lighting up. Although everyone was moving quite fast, it still took a considerable amount of time. As the last group of people approached the teleportation array, suddenly, an old and solemn voice came from the distance. All soldiers of the Zhangming Kingdom, heed my command. Kill everyone without mercy. Kill. 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 At the foot of Zhang Mountain, one could intermittently hear the clashing of weapons, the frightened screams and angry shouts of men and women, and the sounds of flesh being pierced. Some martial artists attempted to flee. However, just as they flew not too far out, it was as though they had hit a wall. Their bodies convulsed uncontrollably as thunder crackled and lightning struck them, instantly electrocuting them into charred corpses. This place had become a complete hell, where any creature attempting to escape would be mercilessly slaughtered. The red silk originally spread on the ground had long been torn, burned, and reduced into a mess, but the ground underneath was still bright red, stained red with blood. In sealed dragon domain, Zhou Yanan looked at the scene of the massacre outside, his face as pale as paper. He recognized this army. It was the army of the Zhangming Kingdom, a total of 300,000 low-rank martial artists. The leader was Venerable Mu Hua, a peak expert on the nascent soul stage. He was also the sole survivor when the Feng family was annihilated, the Feng family patriarch. After everyone outside was killed, the Feng family's patriarch came to the entrance of sealed dragon domain and sneered, "Those of you inside, listen well. If you hand over Shiyu obediently, that will be it. I might even spare your life. But if not, don't blame me for flattening Zhang Mountain and turning all of you into wandering souls within these hills." Zhou Yanan and the others were relieved when they heard this. So, the young lady escaped and didn't fall into their hands? Thank goodness. Thank goodness. The sealed dragon domain's barrier was tightly shut. The place was quiet except for the sound of the evening breeze blowing the leaves. Feng family's patriarch frowned. He was about to order a full-scale attack, when a man with a sallow complexion stepped forward from behind him. With a mocking smile, he said, "A mere soul-splitting stage old-timer set up this place. It might stop a martial artist nascent soul stage, but you still want to stop me? Ridiculous." The sealed dragon domain was left behind by immortal Zijin before he ascended. At the time, he was only a soul-splitting stage practitioner. The one who stepped forward to speak was Qishan, who also had soul-splitting stage cultivation. He slowly brought his hands together. A ball of light, resembling a vortex, appeared between them. He then fiercely launched it, and it landed at the entrance of the sealed dragon domain. Boom! There was a massive explosion. The earth shook and the mountains quaked, with rocks crumbling. A crack appeared in the tightly sealed dragon domain. Dust was kicked up and settled, revealing the figures of hundreds of thousands of people. Feng family's patriarch burst into hearty laughter. "Sir Qishan, what impressive skills and cultivation you have. Now, I'd like to see where those scoundrels could possibly run off to." Zhou Yanan trembled slightly. Just now, he felt the teleportation array to the secret domain was destroyed. In other words, they were now in the Greenwood domain. Even if they wanted to escape to other domains, they were unable to do anything unless the real owner of the secret domain, Shi, returned. Chapter 1643, Are You Afraid of Death? Feng family's patriarch levitated in the air. Scanning the place with his divine sense and finding no trace of Shiyu's presence, he frowned in displeasure. He looked down at the hundreds of thousands of people in the sealed dragon domain and said coldly, I know Shiyu is not here. If any of you can reveal Shiyu's possible hiding place, even just one, I can spare your life. In the end, Shiyu is just a little girl. How deep can her connection be with you all? Is she more important than your brothers and family? If you just tell me where Shiyu is, I can not only spare your life but also ensure that your power greatly increases. How about it? Does anyone wish to speak now? Silence fell over the Greenwood domain. Not a single voice was raised. A boy from the Xingda Hall branch took a cautious step forward. If I tell you, will you really spare me? A surge of joy welled up in the heart of the Feng family's patriarch. Just as the boy opened his mouth to speak, a flash of silver light streaked from the large golden ring blade in Qinbai's hand. The boy was silenced before he could utter a word. With his face still pale, Zhou Yanan didn't spare the young man a glance. He said coldly, we have already sworn allegiance to Mississippi. Anyone who dares to betray Miss will be killed without mercy. Our lives are right here. If you want them, come and take them, but making us betray the young miss? In your dreams. Chen Guang shouted loudly. Chen Bai waved his golden ring blade and looked coldly at all the guys in Xingda Hall. Whoever else wants to betray the young miss and the young master, step forward now. Betrayal of miss will be met with merciless death. Kill without mercy. In unison, the 100,000 Jingxue army soldiers raised their voices. The ground shook for a moment, and the valley seemed to rumble with echoes. The Feng family's patriarch's expression became unsightly. He hadn't expected that Shiyu, just a young girl, would command such loyalty from her subordinates. Those were 100,000 soldiers, yet not a single one harbored thoughts of betrayal. Qishan sneered, his expression cruel yet nonchalant, they are just a bunch of ants. If they refuse to obey, then kill them. Kill them slowly, make it more agonizing. I don't believe Shiyu can resist coming out. Yes, Sir Qishan. Feng family's patriarch waved his hand toward the 300,000 Sangming Kingdom's army behind him. His aged voice carried far and wide, annihilate all living beings in the sealed dragon domain. Since you spurn courtesy and seek death, so be it, I shall grant your wish. Chen Guang leaped onto a hilltop and shouted to the 100,000 soldiers, brothers, are you afraid of death? We live for battle, we die for battle. What's there to fear? From the moment Mr. Ouyang entrusted us to Miss Shi, she became our only master. We swear to protect our master with our lives. Good. Chen Guang's eyes reddened, and his hoarse roar echoed through the valley, those unafraid of death, follow me, charge. We'll stake our lives against these sons of bitches. Charge. Kill these sons of bitches. Master, what is that? Qing Wan asked in horror, pointing at the runes slowly flashing in the sky. Those runes were densely packed like a net, trapping everyone in it. Nangong Yu's eyes were deep red, flickering and elusive, profound like a deep, icy water. He slowly said, isolation barrier. Just as Qing Wan was about to ask what the isolation barrier was, she saw Xian Wu rushing over, kneeling before Nangong Yu. His voice tinged with a hint of panic, Master, I tried to summon the Iron Kirin but attempts through both the transmission talisman and the boundless black market were futile. Chapter 1644, Get Lost. I attempted to head to the Iron Kirin camp, but as soon as I left Yanjing city, I got repelled by a powerful force. Gu Lufeng and the others also stared at the dense runes in the sky, swallowing hard before saying, the people from the Siam continent, what do they want to do by setting up such a terrifying net? Is it all just to capture Shiyu? Ouyang Haoshuan glanced at Gu Lufeng with a mocking smile flashing across his eyes. What are they trying to do? Of course, they want to obtain the wood source from Shiyu. Back then, the Feng family tortured my parents to death for the fire element spirit pearl in me. However, what does the fire element spirit pearl amount to compared to the wood source? With such a treasure in Shiyu's possession, how could it not drive people mad? Sister! It's sister! Shao Qi suddenly shouted excitedly. His hands instinctively hit the ground, he was ready to run over like a wild beast. Simultaneously, the blood within Ouyang Haoshuan also surged, a sensation belonging to the blood pact. Even Shi Jia and others, who had Shiyu's fundamental essence planted in their bodies, said excitedly, "It's Mississippi. She is heading to the sealed dragon domain. Let's hurry over there." Where the sword passed, the air seemed to have been cleaved by thunder, creating a fissure that emitted crackling and snapping sounds. Subsequently, several figures gradually emerged amidst the flickering electric light. Ha! It turns out that Shiyu is rushing to the sealed dragon domain. Thank you so much for telling us the news. Lu Yunhai wore a smug smile on his face. Looking at Nan Gongyu and the others, his eyes were full of contempt and mockery, along with excitement about soon securing the wood source. Behind Lu Yunhai were Lu Wushuang and Qian Yu, who wore white clothes and veils, as well as Silver Fox, Black Snake, and Lu Xiyang from the Green Vine clan. Upon seeing Nan Gongyu's incomparably handsome face, she fell into a trance, and her whole heart seemed as if it would leap out of her chest. She resented Yun Churen for snatching away Nan Gong Outyin. However, she hadn't expected upon laying eyes on Nan Gongyu, she would discover that this son of Nan Gong Outyin and Yun Churen surpassed even Nan Gong Outyin himself. He was all the more capable of stirring her heart and soul. Nan Gongyu swung the Xian Yuan sword in his hand and said coldly, "Get lost." "What are you to dare tell us to get lost?" Black Snake sneered. "Just a low-level cultivator from the lower realms who lucked into training up to the soul-splitting stage. Do you think you're really all that?" Believe it or not, before Black Snake could finish speaking, the Xian Yuan sword in Nan Gongyu's hand suddenly soared into the air, emitting a piercing howl as it thrust straight toward Black Snake. The overwhelming momentum greatly changed Black Snake's expression. Narrowing his eyes, Lu Yunhai suddenly leaped up. The dark red sword in his hand was unsheathed and he faced Xian Yuan's sword directly. With a bang, a loud noise erupted as the two swords clashed, light flashing brilliantly, as bright as daylight. Luo Yunhai retrieved his sword, with a murky and indistinct light in his eyes. "Truly worthy of being Nangong Outyin's son, you have some skill. But if you intend to stop my Luo family from securing the wood source, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Wu Shuang, Qian Yu, enter the sealed dragon domain first. Make sure you capture Shiyu alive." "Yes, third elder." Nangong Yu's face was filled with fury. Seeing that Luo Wushuang and the others were about to rush toward the sealed dragon domain, he dashed forward in a blur, ready to charge at them. Chapter 1645, A Battle with No Chance of Winning. Lu Yunhai sneered. The aura around him surged, like an overwhelming mountain. Even the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers drastically changed their color. At this moment, the third elder of the Lu family truly showed his strength. Even the silver fox was startled. He instinctively retreated. That was the advanced level of the void darkness stage. That cultivation level surpassed Nangong Yu's cultivation by a whole stage. A void darkness stage martial artist at the advanced level would reduce everyone present into a pool of blood with one slash. Only Nangong Yu had the slightest possibility of fending off the attack. Lu Yunhai swung his sword, sweeping through like a hurricane with a mighty buzzing noise. Dang! There was a loud collision. Nangong Yu's figure flickered, and he stood before everyone. The Xian Yuan sword trembled violently and made a cracking sound. Nangong Yu's face turned pale as blood spilled from his mouth. "Master!" Qing Long and the rest screamed. Nangong Yu glanced at Shao Qi and then at Ouyang Haoshuan. "I'll stop him. You guys rush to the sealed dragon domain and make sure to send Shao Qi back to Shiyu." Only he knew how much wood energy Shao Qi contained. If Shiyu was seriously injured, the only one who could help Shiyu recover was Shao Qi. Ouyang Haoshuan was startled. His expression slowly became solemn. "I swear, I will definitely rush back to Xiaoyu's side, and I will ensure Xiaoqi's safe return. Gu Lufeng grabbed Xiaoqi, his voice trembling, Nangongyu, be careful. After saying that, Gu Lufeng carried Xiaoqi on his back. Then, he ran his spiritual power around his body, and he rushed toward the sealed dragon domain like a fired arrow. Thinking you can leave just like that? Ha, do you treat us as nothing? Black Snake showed a contemptuous smile. A thick, foul-smelling black gas emanated from his body as he prepared to fly toward Gu Lufeng and his companions. However, the black gas failed to spread to Gu Lufeng and the others. Wu Xian held the long sword in his hand and slashed toward the black gas, barely blocking Black Snake's attack. Master has instructed them to leave, so they must leave. No one is allowed to stop them. 6 other people, including Qing Long and Wu Yu, also stepped forward and stood beside Wu Xian, looking at Black Snake coldly. Ha ha ha, you merely have 2 nascent souls and a few gold core stages, yet you want to stop me? Black Snake threw his head back, his laughter filled with mockery. What do you consider yourselves? And who do you think I am? Minions, attack. Slay these golden cores. Upon your return, I will commend your achievements to our master. 6 martial artists from the nascent soul stage rushed forward fiercely and surrounded Qing Long's group. A soul-splitting stage versus a void darkness stage at the advanced level. 2 nascent soul stage and 5 gold core stage versus 6 nascent soul stage and 1 soul-splitting stage. This was a battle destined to have no chance of winning, but no one would back down. Gu Lufeng, Ouyang Haoshuan, and Shi Jia, carrying Xiaoqi, desperately rushed toward the Tsang Mountain direction. Even if the spiritual energy in their bodies was exhausted, they directly absorbed spiritual energy from the crystal stones, oblivious to the pain in their meridians as if on fire. Suddenly, a peal of laughter, clear as a silver bell, echoed through the air, as if ringing right beside their ears. Gu Lufeng and the others halted abruptly. Their faces were cold and solemn. Qian Yu's graceful figure slowly fell from the air, followed by several martial artists from the nascent soul stage, with fluttering clothes and grace. However, in the eyes of Gu Lufeng and others, they were demons descending from the sky. As soon as Qian Yu landed, she chuckled and said, "Tisk, tsk, that little girl Shi Yu is so pretty and blessed. All the men around her are so fresh and young." Chapter 1646, Promise, handsome, considering how charming you are, how about this, you hand over the person on your back, and I'll let you guys go. Deal? Nangongyu said that you must send him to Shiyu. Hee, you're making me curious about what is so special about this boy. Gu Lufeng took a deep breath and said in a low voice, Ouyang Haoshuan, can you discern her cultivation level? Ouyang Haoshuan shook his head. Gu Liufeng's face turned as pale as paper. Ouyang Haoshuan was a nascent soul stage. He couldn't see this woman's cultivation level, which meant that this woman was at least a soul-splitting stage. For them to face the soul-splitting stage, their fate was sealed. Gu Lufeng closed his eyes. He suddenly put Xiaoqi on Ouyang Haoshuan's back and said in a deep voice, Haoshuan, you take Xiaoqi and go first. I will hold off this woman. Ouyang Haoshuan frowned and was about to put Xiaoqi back on Gu Liufeng's back. However, Gu Lufeng stopped him. Ouyang Haoshuan, you have to remember that the most important thing now is to save Shiyu and fulfill our promise, protect Shiyu. Your cultivation level is higher than mine. Only if you take Xiaoqi with you, will you have a greater chance of sending him to Shiyu. Ouyang Haoshuan stood there for a long time, then lowered his eyes. The golden silk flew out of his hand and tied Xiaoqi tightly to his body. One of his hands was broken, and the other hand had to hold the red lotus sword, so he had to use this method. Qing Wan's eyes reddened with tears welled up in her eyes. She had abandoned her master and even left Qing Long and the others to hurry here, all in the hope of returning to her Mississippi. It was her negligence that allowed Miss to be kidnapped. Even if she had to sacrifice her life, she would still protect Miss at all costs. Qing Wan was about to call Shi Jia and the others to leave, but Shi Jia suddenly pushed her hard to Ouyang Haoshuan. Mr. Ouyang, Miss Qing Wan, you go first. We will stop them with young Master Gu. You all. Qing Wan's voice broke into sobs. She finally couldn't no longer hold back her tears. Shi Jia smiled. His expression was honest and steady. Miss Qing Wan, don't blame yourself. The ones who should feel guilty are us. As the Mrs. Subordinate and her personal guards, we let her be taken. Even in death, we couldn't atone for our sins. Young Master Gu is already having a hard time dealing with that woman alone. Let us stop her followers. Mr. Ouyang, Miss Qing Wan, please send Shaoqi back to Mississippi. Qian Yu burst into laughter when he heard their conversation as if he had heard a ridiculous joke. A bunch of slaves in the physique training stage, who aren't martial artists yet, and a gold core stage actually think they can stop us? Gu Hui, they're looking down on you, even having the thought of stopping you here. I wonder what's going through your mind. A young man with a soft yet malicious face behind Qian Yu slowly stepped forward upon hearing those words. He sneered, "Ha, I will teach them the consequences of their arrogance. Tell me, for the insult to a high-level martial artist on the verge of reaching the soul-splitting stage, how do you wish to die? Skinned and torn apart, or shall I break every bone in your bodies?" Gu Hui, the best general under Qian Yu, was approaching the soul-splitting stage with his cultivation level. He only needed an opportunity to break through from the nascent soul stage. Over a year ago, Shi Jia and the others were considered trash, not even having reached the qi refining stage. They were merely slaves, confined in cages and sold at will. Chapter 1647, Waiting for the lady to come back. Ouyang Haoshuan took a deep breath, and the flaming spiritual power in his dantian was fuming. He did not stop or look back but quickly rushed toward the sealed dragon domain. Tears filled Qing Wan's face. Finally, she took a deep look at Gu Lufeng and Shi Jia, then turned around to follow Ouyang Haoshuan. The sealed dragon domain was clearly in front of them, but the road to Shiyu felt so distant. Sealed dragon domain. The pungent smell of blood pervaded the valley, with viscous liquid flowing on the ground like water, staining the plants red and soaking into the soil. The Feng family patriarch stared blankly at the nearby battlefield, where fierce fighting and shouting echoed. Suddenly, he swallowed as a bead of sweat rolled down his forehead. He had never imagined that the battle would become so intense. Despite having an army of 300,000 and numerous high-rank martial artists from the Gold Core stage, he was helpless against a mere 100,000. Indeed, everyone knew that apart from Iron Kirin of the King of Hell Mansion, the Jinling Kingdom's army was nothing more than a motley crowd. Half a year ago, most of the soldiers in the Jingxue army were mortals with no cultivation. In contrast, almost everyone in the Zhangming Kingdom's army was a martial artist above the qi refining stage. However, what had they gone through in just 6 months? Why were they able to fight the Zhangming Kingdom's army with a huge disparity of 100,000 units to 300,000 units? What exactly was driving them? Even with severed hands, exhausted breath, and blood covering their bodies, they refused to take a single step back. On the battlefield, with a single slash, Chen Guang took down a soldier from the Zhangming Kingdom. Wiping the blood from his face, he shouted hoarsely to a young man beside him, "Shan Zi, how are you? Are you still alive?" "Captain, I'm fine. Even if I die, I will kill them all." "Ha ha ha. Yes, I've disliked them for a long time. Isn't that old man from the Feng family one of the main culprits behind harming General Ouyang? Even if we can't kill that bastard, killing more of their soldiers would be avenging the general." "Ha, yes, kill them and avenge the general." Shanzi shouted loudly, but his voice abruptly halted when a saber, flickering with flames, pierced through his dantian. "Shanzi!" Chen Guang shouted loudly, his voice tinged with a sobbing tone. Around him were fallen comrades and cries echoing their unyielding determination, even in the face of death. "Captain! I, Shanzi, have no regrets about following the general and Mississippi captain. Kill more of those bastards, avenge us. Shanzi grabbed the blade firmly, disregarding the blood gushing out from his bleeding abdomen. He lunged at the person behind him. Even if I die, I will take you down with me. Zhou Yanan slashed at a Tsangming Kingdom's general who charged at him, and then shouted to Shi Lang, take the children and leave first. Do you hear me? This is an order. Shi Lang held his head high defiantly. His eyes were fierce like a wolf, staring at his enemy, Butler Zhou. My only master is the young lady. You can't order me around. We were originally saved by the young lady. Without her, there would be no us. The sealed dragon domain belongs to the lady. Even if I die, I'll stay here waiting for her return. Zhou Yanan's eyes were bloodshot, and his body trembled uncontrollably. In the end, he said hoarsely, okay, good boy. Even in death, we must guard the sealed dragon domain for Shiyu. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.